Nelson Mandela, born in 1918, was a rebel and activist who became South Africa's most wanted fugitive before he was in prison after life. In the late 1980s, Mandela died in prison from poor condition and illness. He was given a massive state funeral with thousands of mourners filling the streets to honor the fallen activist. His wife, Winnie Mandela, delivered a heartbreaking televised eulogy, which became a defining moment of the decade. But this isn't at all what happened to Nelson Mandela. It's just what thousands of people swear did. Hello everyone, it's Annabel and Evelyn, and welcome to our first episode of our new podcast, Don't Quote Us, where we'll speak about thrilling stories that will keep you up at night. So yes, we left you on a bit of a cliffhanger in that first story, but to explain, this is a term known as the Mandela effect. It is a phenomenon where a large group of people collectively share the same false memory, an event, detail, or pop culture moment, and it occurs when thousands of people mistakenly remember something, such as the spelling of a brand or a movie quote, directly differently from how it actually occurred. It's so interesting. Yeah, it is. And I know you've looked into some effects of the Mandela effect in our own life and some examples. Well, there's a couple examples I think are really prominent and the kind of main examples why I found the Mandela effect. And the first one hits pretty close to home for me and Evelyn. So me and Evelyn are really big Star Wars fans. Yeah, we've been since middle school. And that's kind of how we first became friends, I feel. That's kind of how we first became really good friends, was our shared love for Star Wars. And the biggest line, I'd say, in Star Wars is when in Empire Strikes Back, episode 5 really, where Luke or Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father. That line and that scene is so pivotal in the entire series. And the line is remembered differently than how it actually is. Most people remember it, Luke, I am your father, but the actual line is, no, I am your father. And this is just crazy to me, because I remember when I was watching it for the first time, and I was I was so ready for this scene. I was so excited, because I actually knew the line, and then it just wasn't the line I was expecting. It was weird. And I feel I've seen Luke, I am your father everywhere. I feel like it's always been that, but it never has been. It's just creepy. Star Wars is also something that people have obsessed over, and it's been that way since the movies first came out. And this is one of the defining moments in the entire series. This is probably the biggest moment. And for so many people who watch it over and over again, have seen this movie 20 times, whatever. It's so weird to just see that it's different from how you remember it. And I think that's weird that so many people remember it one way, and these are people who have watched it over and over again. And and for me and Annabel, it's just crazy that it's another way. Yeah, and it's just crazy. It's never been that. So it's where are people getting this from? And then another example is the Monopoly Man. So I think Monopoly is probably, the biggest board game out there. And when you think about all his accessories, you think about, his hat, his little top hat, his cane, his mustache, and his monocle. But he never actually had a monocle, which is crazy, because I feel every time people envision him, they see him with his little monocle, but he never had a monocle. I mean, if this is perfectly, I feel I do remember a monocle on him, because that's part of his accessories. Yeah, part of who he is. I feel that's part of his identity, because I don't know, it just fits him to have a monocle. Yeah, and I was talking with my dad about it, and he was he thought she had a monocle too. And I told him that the Monopoly guy doesn't have a monocle, and he's well, it's probably the peanut man, peanut, the peanut jars that has the cane, all the stuff. So I think that's probably what people getting confused. But Chris had seen Japanese never had a monocle. And then this one is the most recent one I learned, which is, this one to me is just insane. It's from Snow White, the original Snow White. And when Evil Queen is talking to the magic mirror, and she says the line about the famous line. And most people think that it's mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. The actual line is magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. This is crazy, because I feel mirror, mirror on the wall just sounds better. It in a better city magic or fitting into the sentence. Yeah. It doesn't even rhyme, but how the mirror does. Yeah. It's weird. And different theorists have certain beliefs on what the cause of the Mandela effect is. One popular theory that I looked into is that many of us this is probably one that many of us are probably familiar with. It's the simulation theory. It's the idea that we as humans are living in a computer simulation, like the Matrix or something. And it's like we're run by the government and all the things we know are like data that's been like engraved in our brain, and that the Mandela effect is like glitches in the system. Well, I think that's crazy. That's a pretty crazy theory, but that's a common one, and I think it does somewhat explain it because maybe it's a glitch, maybe it's just like intention, not intentional, like mistakes that happen in the programming, and that's like I think that kind of adds up. But I mean, yeah, I, again, just kind of connects two theories, and I think it makes sense personally. Yeah, and I've also seen simulation theory be tied to the NPC theory that not all humans are fully conscious, and some are just background characters like NPCs. But I think likely at the end of the day, it's just caused by false memory and like large groups of people confidently misremember the same detail or image. Yeah, and I mean, everyone has strong opinions on like, again, their favorite movie, which might be Star Wars. Again, what happened like in that defining moment where he goes, "Luke, I'm your father," or "No, I'm your father," whatever it is. I think everyone's very confident about their thing. And for me, I am pretty confident in the Luke, I'm your father. So it just makes more sense. Like it's buzz. Yeah. It's just I just remember it that way. So it's weird for me to rewatch it and see, no, I'm your father. Yeah. And I think too, it's like, when you hear someone say something a lot that you kind of just start believing it. I think maybe a big part of Mandela effect too is, we hear so many people being like, it's Luke, I'm your father. It's a mirror, mirror on the wall. I think that it just gets more engraved into yeah, brain. And I mean, today it's kind of fun to be like, oh yeah, it is that, and like join in on this conspiracy that yeah, how did this happen? How do all of us remember it one way and it's actually happened another way? And I mean, I think the first one that we mentioned, which was the Nelson Mandela one, that is what this theory is named after. I think that one's crazy because he actually died peacefully. I think it was 2003 or 2013. I know big gap, but yeah. Yeah, he died peacefully and he became the president in South Africa, and that's just like so weird that so many people remember him dying and remember just thousands of people coming to mourn him, and like yeah, and that didn't happen. Definitely. It's just so weird. So I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say what has actually happened if yes, theories are real. Yeah. It's really interesting to think on. And it always makes me curious. It's like, are there any examples of the Mandela effect in our own lives? Things that we're remembering wrong from our childhood or things that we think are true, but they really aren't. It's so interesting. And it's like makes me curious. Like, are there things? Because we may look back at our second grade year or something and think, oh yeah, I remember this happening. And we remember it like and it could have not even happened. But it could have not have even happened. So that's all for today's episode. We hope you learned a lot about the Mandela effects. It was really fun to look into and research. And I mean, honestly, it was crazy. It was pretty eye-opening. Yeah. Yeah, look at but and it just agreeing with some of these, it's like, whoa, I never realized that this every single book, movie, it is like, yeah, one way, but I swear it's another way. Yeah. Pretty crazy. But I hope you'll tune in for our next episode. It will be with a new co-host. It'll be with me and Gianna, and we'll be talking about Appalachian Skinwalkers and Slenderman. So I hope you tune in for that. And that's all for now. Thank you. Bye. Bye.